This program is brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
It really boils down to creating a better life for subsequent generations, right? Making sure our children and grandchildren can live better lives. And on that dimension, no matter how we spin it, Africa has failed.
You know, we have money. We do have money in Africa. We have so many resources in Africa, but it's not harnessed. So my plea or my offering to Botswana today, and I'm offering my experience. This is what I'm doing in South Africa. I am willing to give my time and my knowledge and my experience to Botswana.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issues. Tonight we're going to attempt the impossible task of trying to share all that took place at the 13th Global Expo Botswana that took place here, Fairground Holdings Conference and Exhibition Halls, from the 30th of October till the 2nd of this month. Along with having 291 exhibitors from 17 countries around the world, there were workshops, trainings and networking events running simultaneously for a full 4 days. It was a Herculean effort to try and stay abreast of it all. What I appreciated most was that there was a genuine sense of seeking practical, relevant and actionable solutions to the variety of issues being addressed. Even at the high-level meeting between Acting President Slamba Tsokwane and the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry, Bokolo Kenowendo, with the guest of honor, Vice President of India, Venkaiah Naidu, was evidence of a real concerted effort to grow bilateral trade between the two countries, which is said to have increased by an impressive 27% this year alone. The panel discussions saw bright minds from as far afield as America's Silicon Valley, the UK's top financial institutions, representatives from the big international non-governmental organizations or bingos, and more, interrogate issues such as Botswana's economic diversification, galvanizing the country into the fourth industrial revolution, and so forth. We even sat in on more focused industry meetings between those who commoditize culture, such as artists and tourist operators, who contributed towards efforts to better brand Botswana. In another meeting, traders and franchisees got to directly engage the regional customs union with the shared goal of improving inter-regional trade. For those looking to establish themselves as business people, international industry leaders volunteered their time to groom them and interrogate their business ideas over several days. The learnings were many, but first up we have international trade consultant Dr. Andre Gauss, who tells us why he says that an export culture is key to diversifying Botswana's economy.
When we diversify, too many want to go for everything. You sort of like just throw out the net and catch whatever they can. And I think that's a wrong approach. I think we need to say, right, we're going to diversify, but we're going to diversify into areas that we can sell to other markets and exploit those. So when we start looking at all policies, and that's why I said we need an integrated approach. From your monetary policy, your pool is too strong, your pool is too volatile. Exporters battle with it. So the governor of the Reserve Bank needs to be, or the central bank needs to be included. Your industrial policy, although a lot of it's got to do with being part of SACU, you've still got instruments that you can use to diversify. So when you've got the Botswana Development Corporation that helps with financing of big corporations, when they get an application the first question should be, right, you're going to manufacture widgets or whatever product it is, are you going to export? What percentage are you eventually aiming at exporting? So the product lines can be set up for exports and exploiting economies of scale. And that's what you want to do. So if you're just making a few products for the Botswana market, you'll never get those economies of scale. And you won't be able to get the raw materials and all the other products, amortizing your research costs over a long period that people with big markets do. So you need to look at all the markets.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world. Because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB, how can we help you?
We continue to bring you highlights from the 13th Global Expo Botswana, themed Seizing Opportunities Through Networking with Global Business Leaders. International angel investor Raj Waniapa, who has ventures in disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain solutions, and fintech, shares what, in his experienced view, is the way in which Botswana should best position itself to enter into the fourth industrial revolution.
Technologies that I suggested, such as blockchain and AI and Internet of Things, allow Botswana to really leapfrog. And so that gap, it's not a matter of catching up, but it's actually even going above the rest of the world. But the key is to focus, and maybe not on all three, but on one or two that makes sense to the markets and to the entrepreneurs and to government and businesses, and really gather around that and be the center of excellence globally for those technologies. So some countries select to focus on technologies that are far removed from their DNA, from their culture, and really the marketplace that they are. So my advice was for Botswana to capitalize on its strengths such as its mining sector, agriculture sector, its strengths such as innovative workforce that's highly educated, and focus on those technologies that lead to be able to get better, and from then scale to the rest of the world. So all these technologies actually at the end result in data being created, and the ability to mine that data is where a lot of the money is. So there are innovative companies that are looking at focusing on just working on the top, collecting data from multiple sources, aggregating that data, combining trade data with weather data, with personal buying habits, and be able to provide value to consumers and to businesses. So I would say data is the new oil. The great thing is with these technologies, a lot of them are software based. So actually there is no capital cost. It's about knowledge, it's about training, it's about skills, it's about learning about it. So it's human capital and innovation and brain power more than hard dollars.
Mr. Waniapa was one of the investors and mentors who took time out to share their expertise with young Botswana entrepreneurs during his time in Botswana in a new pilot project of the Global Expo Botswana called the Investment Battlefield, spearheaded by Botswana's export to the United Kingdom, Nell Mooki. She, along with some mentees, described to us what value add this project has contributed to the Expo.
I have actually met a tremendous amount of talented young people. I recognize that there's a lot of work to do with them, and even though there is some input that I will need to be putting in to help develop some of those entrepreneurs, I think the biggest takeaway is that we have a lot of wealth of resources in terms of our human talent. We have a wealth of resources in terms of the resources that Botswana has, our desert is a huge resource. The Okavango Delta is a huge resource in terms of building financial products, not for tourism, for building financial products that large investors, institutional investors globally want to invest in. So what I've taken away is the realization that there is hope. I've taken away hope that we can actually use the resources that we've got to truly diversify our economy, and that includes our human talent. I've met with some of the leadership over the last couple of days, including Minister Kwenowendo. I'm hoping to meet with the HE Rarona. And I believe that what I'm hoping to achieve is to influence a national agenda that empowers innovation, social innovation, and that is being spearheaded by our leadership. So that's one thing that I'm really going to be putting my efforts on, because as we heard from a lot of the panel discussions this week, we need a whole change of mindset in order to supercharge our economy. And the change of mindset is going to come about where there is a collective sense of purpose that is being driven by our leadership. So that is one. And secondly, I would like to see that national sense of effort, also including this as an annual event. An annual event which was a pilot this year. It was supposed to be tiny. It was supposed to be a pilot. It ended up being bigger than what we imagined. But it's going to be bigger, and that I can promise you. And by bigger, I don't mean by size. I mean by actually creating, I'm seeking to create Botswana as a heavyweight globally for investments. And that means us using this as a forum annually in the same way that South Africa uses their annual investment forum to invite investors from outside with a clear intent, stating a clear intent of saying we want to attract £5 billion of investment. South Africa managed to get investors to pledge more than 200 billion to pour that into the economy. Why can't we do that? That is my vision. And I want that when this comes back next year, we're going to state a clear intention to the international investors that we're going to be inviting here from Saudi Arabia, from abroad, even locally. We will not be hearing about investments of 250 million. We're going to be talking about billions, and that is my vision.
As you know, being an entrepreneur, the journey gets lonely sometimes, and it was great meeting and networking with my fellow entrepreneurs here in Botswana. Our people are doing some amazing things, and it was just great to see what everyone is doing. In terms of what we learned, the soft skills we learned, they honestly helped shape our presentations today. I mean, I learned about Flow Canvas. I don't even know what that is. I've never heard about that, but I definitely put that into practice, and it's something that I'll definitely take on, not just for today, but going forward in my business.
I think my pitch was successful. I got offered potentially 150,000 investment, and also an opportunity to work with the experts here to help me refine my pitch so that I could potentially be selected to compete in a world platform.
Taking part in this inaugural battlefield was quite amazing. I think it's such a brilliant initiative, perfect timing. And for me personally, I think it created that platform that we've been so longing for, especially in the local market. I mean, we've been to a few platforms that are international, but locally we've always found that having an audience for a pitching competition is always limited, especially with stakeholders from different sectors, because the Global Expo actually brought everyone together.
What is the future of help? It's to help people find the great in themselves. The drive, the passion. Help them find their true potential. Help them stretch. Help them grow. That's why we help people help themselves, help the world. Because a little help goes a long, long way. FNB, how can we help you?
Welcome back to First Issues. The modern lifestyle is full of millions of people consistently on the go. And with the incessant demands on our time, meal times have suffered. Bommasape around the way are some of those that have capitalized on this gap, offering the papata and magunya at breakfast and stews, palichi and more at lunch. Fast food chains with their fried chicken and pizza are also catering to this need at all hours of the day. Your supermarket will also offer you the choice of a warm, ready-made meal to go and some quick, instant, microwavable processed foods that will allow you to eat quickly. All too often, however, these readily available options are high in fat, sugar, salt, and preservatives, unfortunately, and are providing fuel to the fire of lives already unhealthily out of balance and resulting in chronic and costly illnesses. To prevent the development of a compromised workforce, Professor Bhagat has previously said that to constructively start off the day, one must hydrate, exercise, and have a healthy breakfast. He returns once again today to tell us what we must do when we find ourselves needing to refuel at midday.
Well, midday is generally a time where you, if we just go back a wee bit to breakfast, and I wanted to emphasize one of the vital things that we've discovered is if you do an intermittent fast. If you, for example, skip breakfast, you can have your supper the night before and skip breakfast, keeping it a liquid fast. So you can have your fluids, you can have your green tea or whatever tea you drink or your coffee, but take nothing until lunchtime. So that generally is an 18-hour fast. We know biologically, we know medically that actually helps the system. Cleanses the system, it allows the bowel to regenerate, it allows the good healthy bacteria in your gut to flourish and to reproduce. So resting the bowel, we call it a 2 and 5, where you rest the bowel 2 days in a 5-day sequence, actually is very good for your system. So this misconception that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is untrue. Okay? So if you can, have your lunch or brunch 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and that time have a good lunch. You know, I'm talking about a good portion of protein. It could be some beef, it could be fish, it could be lamb, as long as it's not overcooked. We know that if you brine meat, the crispy bits, particularly bacon or the crispy top of beef, is actually highly toxic. It produces what are called aromatic cycloamines. These are toxic to the gut and can increase your risk of bowel cancer. So make sure that your beef or whatever it is not overly cooked. Okay, grilled fish, hopefully not heavily salted. The salt you should be using is what we call a pink salt. Readily available, not very expensive, it's called Himalayan sea salt. The pinkness in it simply tells you there's a lot of minerals in it. So you can use that, lemon, lime, vinegar, lots of salad. What I always say to patients is make sure that the meat is part of a condiment. Make sure that it's a side portion. The biggest portion should be your morojo or your veggies, whatever those veggies are, whether they're beans, whether there's spinach, cabbage, beetroot, whatever you want, lightly cooked or salad. Sprinkle a little bit of olive oil if you have olive oil, or a bit of coconut oil. And then you can make your own dressing with a bit of balsamic vinegar, some lemon or lime, a squeeze of that stuff. And avocado you may want to have, you know, avocado grows readily in Botswana. Have some avocado in the morning, at lunchtime. So you're having a portion of a plate which has very little carbohydrates. The carbohydrates that you're getting are actually in the vegetables, whether it's cauliflower or cabbage or broccoli. This contains good carbohydrates. And hydrate yourself with water. If you need something sweeter, have some lemon tea or green tea, add a bit of lemon on it and some honey. That's generally what your lunch should be. Okay? If you're not going to have lunch, then basically have something light, like some nuts or seeds. Make sure that you have enough fat in your system, on your plate, to sustain you until the evening meal. And fat, the healthy fats, margarine is not a good fat. Coconut oil is a good fat. So make sure you know your fats before you consume those fats or you buy those fats.
What do you make of the several small meals a day theory?
It had its fashion some years back, but there's actually no evidence that either that it keeps your weight down or that it's actually healthy for you, because you're not resting the gut. You know, today in Ametso we are increasingly aware of the gut-brain connection, the gut-heart connection. we are increasingly aware that the bacteria in your gut are part of you. You grow up with them. We know, for example, that babies that are born through cesarean section and don't go through the natural birth canal don't inherit some of the natural bacteria from their mum and suffer later with conditions such as heart disease and diabetes, because the gut bacteria are essential in terms of absorbing, manufacturing, and rejecting certain foods. We know that some children who develop attention deficit may do so because their gut bacteria are not normal. So this is a space to watch in the next couple of years in terms of the gut microbiome. And so we also know that these gut bacteria need to rest. They should not always be assaulted with food. And so this small frequent meal idea has completely been thrown out the window, both for diabetics as well as for normal people, that it should not be small frequent meals. It should be healthy meals full of healthy fats, protein, and a small amount of carbohydrate. I also wanted to mention in terms of lunch is to avoid alcohol and to avoid your stimulants such as caffeine, whether the caffeine comes in coffee or it comes in this country, 5 Roses tea, theophylline as we call it, because those are the primary causes of insomnia, which we'll come to later, that if you have a coffee after 12 or 1 o'clock, the lifespan of that coffee lingers for several hours beyond the level that you are aware of. So that coffee, if you have 1 or 2 coffees at lunchtime, it is still in your system by 6, 7 o'clock, and it may cause wakefulness and the inability to fall asleep.
This program was brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?